Hello, imaginary friends. Today I'm working on a knitting project and it's going to take a pretty long time and I was going to get lonely, so I thought, hey, I should see what my imaginary friends are up to and see if they want to hang out and watch me do part of this. So what I'm working on is, the name of this pattern is Oriental Express. I will put a link to it in the show notes at the bottom. And it's a very large piece. You can't really see it, but it takes up this entire table. I'll pan out so you can see it here in a minute. And it's done for the most part. I've done all the knitting. I've done all the blocking. But this one has some embroidery in it, which is something I've very seldom done in my knitting before. I did like some letter embroidery on a scarf one time for someone, like it was a collegiate scarf. And like I just put a big letter on the bottom. But I've never done like more complicated embroidery on knitting. I've done embroidery very poorly. Embroidery isn't a skill I have, and it's a skill I've never really had. I've tried it a couple times. I made some handkerchiefs, stuff like that. Never been good at it. So I've already attempted what I'm about to do here once today, and it failed. Not the video part. I didn't have the video on before then. That's actually what made me think to do the video, is I was like, hey, if I'm going to be failing at things, there might as well be people to watch it. So what I did before was I did a single strand embroidery needle French knots. And they kept sliding through. And the first one or two that slid through, I was like, oh, that just must be because I'm putting it in the wrong hole. Because, knit's pretty loose. Maybe I'm putting it, in the hole I came out of, and I wasn't. I think it just wasn't thick enough. So this time I'm going to do something a little different than what I would normally do. I'm going to try to do this with two pieces of yarn simultaneously. So I'm going to, or not two pieces of yarn, it's the same piece of yarn, it's just folded in half before I put it through here. And so that way it's twice as thick, and I'm going to try to do it. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing down here. So I don't know if you can tell, but on this pattern there are these like little lines of sort of a faux cabling. And I'm going to try to do little French knots inside of that cabling. That may or may not work. We're gonna give it a try and see what happens though. This looks really pretty when it's done. I found pictures on Ravelry and online and everything. And it's a gorgeous piece. I mean, the shawl in and of itself is pretty, but with this embroidery it would be even prettier. So, in case you've never done a French knot, which you probably haven't, not many people do French knots. They're kind of weird. Embroidery in general is kind of like a dead art form in a lot of ways. So you take your string or your yarn or your ribbon or whatever you're embroidering with. You take your needle and you wrap it around twice. Too bad this isn't closer in. And then, in theory, you hold on to that. You go into the hole next to wherever you are. On fabric, that would be very different than knitting because everything's very far apart on knitting. And then in theory, you just yank this on through and you should end up with like a little bead. And I'm not really, I guess I'm getting that, but it's smaller than I want it to be. I could try wrapping around 3 times, or perhaps I'm doing this wrong. There is always the possibility that I am just doing this incorrectly. Let's see. Yeah, this is definitely a different hole. Go that way and pull it on through. Well, that one looks right. I don't know what I did differently, but that one actually looks correct. Let's try that again. I think I went over a little, so I started in the center of this stitch. You can't really see what I'm doing. And then I went over to the side a little. Let's try that again and see. Hopefully I cut a a long enough piece to do this whole section. If not, I will be sad. I hope you are all having wonderful days, wonderful weeks, wonderful years. This one is almost over. We just have one more month left in 2019, heading into 2020, so that's exciting. I hope that 2020 is a lovely year for everyone. I have some big plans for 2020. Places to go, people to see. That one doesn't look as good as the last two, but it's still okay. There's going to be variation. You have to always keep that in mind with any sort of handicraft project, be it knitting, crochet, embroidery, sewing. You're going to have variation. You're going to have variation from the pattern. You're going to have variation between stitches. If you make the same project twice using the exact same yarns, being as careful as possible, they're still going to always be different. And that's the charm of handmade stuff, but it's also like the bane of the creator. Because you have this idea in your mind of what it is you're making and what it's going to look like and how amazing and wonderful it's going to be. And then when it doesn't meet your expectations, you can feel a little bit betrayed by your own work and by the process, by the pattern, by lots of different things, and get a little upset at it. Like this one has some errors in it that I don't know how I missed them. Like they are huge errors. There's a couple places in this shawl where now that it's all laid out and I can see it, I look at them and I kind of cringe. But again, that's part of the process. That's what makes this a unique piece. That's what makes this a Kitty original piece. Because even though I was following the pattern, my mistakes are the variation and what make it, better. Man, I sound all philosophical today. I didn't mean to philosophize at you. I really just wanted to show you some French embroidery. So hopefully you can see I've done a couple of stitches. I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to try to show you the whole piece. It was a lot brighter in here when I started, but the sun has gone down. I can't turn on the lights in this room for a very specific reason. So about 3 weeks ago was Samhain, Halloween, and I put in a light bulb in here that's ghosts. And I don't like climbing up on ladders and stuff when I'm alone because of my leg. It's the muscles in my left leg where I broke my leg aren't as strong as they used to be. And so I'm really afraid to climb up on ladders because if I climb up on a ladder and then I get wobbly and I fell, there wouldn't be anybody here to help. So I haven't changed this light bulb yet. I'm going to get a friend to come over and change it for me in a couple days. But as a result, here, I'll go turn on the light. If I turn on the light in this room, we're just going to end up with ghosts all over the walls. I don't know if you can see here. Let me turn this off. Woo, ghost on the walls. Whatever shall we do? So yeah, that's a thing that just happened. And let me turn this back on and turn the ghosts back off. And I will show you this piece all together. So here it is. This is the entire piece. There we go. Now you can see the whole thing. Yep, you can see the whole thing. So this is the entire piece. It is absolutely huge. And there are some errors in it. Let me find the worst one. It was right over here. Oh, right here. If you notice where my fingers are right now, how I have this cabling. Well, right here, I dropped some stitches. That's a little bit of a mess. Over here, I just completely neglected to do the cabling. So there's like this big hole. I can't even see. There we go. This big, they're all like these cute little round areas. And now this one's double the size because I forgot to do it. And other little things. Not super in love with parts of this pattern. but I don't hate it either. And this is the part I just did while we were talking. I put these little bumps in there, and these are the French embroidery. And I think that's everything. I'm going to try to do another video tomorrow and try to do these for the rest of the winter, because I think it's really good for me to have something that I'm working on every day to, you know, keep my spirits up, not let down the side. I have no idea what that means. I'm not British. So that's it. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. Bye-bye.